Good morning. Let us discuss 23rd June 2015 newspaper over here. The first one is a report of Indian Council for Research on International Economic Relations. Indian Council for Research on International Economic Relations on the farm loans. What it says is the aggregate short-term credit it has raised to 99.7%, which is two-way high. Now, at the same time, the non-institutional credit sources are also increasing, and also the private lenders and their credit role is also increasing in the country. That shows that probably the money which is being given through the banking loans is diverted for the other purpose. Actually, way back in 70s, 80s and 90s, the short-term credit it is just around 13 to 20% from the banks. Now all of a sudden within 2 decades it raised to almost 100%. Such a rapid rise throws suspicion of the diversion of the loans for other purpose. And second is the institutional credit. It has formed total 30% of the total farm loans. So if you take in 1951 it is just 5.3%. Now it raised to 30%. It means that a substantial improvement. But on the negative side, 70% nearly they are outside the formal agricultural loans. It means that the total loan value 36% is from the non-institutional sources, of which 29.6% is from the private lenders. It means that the cost of inputs to the agriculture might have increased, or the expansion of the banking sector is not adequate. So in these circumstances, both the things might be playing a role over here. So these are the next is the cyberspace. There are two articles. The first article says about having an international regulatory framework to control the cyber warfare and cyberspace. As of now, the American hegemony continues on the cyber world, and there are no proper guidelines how to conclude the cyber warfare. So there are two things that complicate this. So in the cyber warfare, it is not just the state actors, even the non-state actors also included. So how to frame a retaliatory attack on the non-state actors is the first thing. And the second thing is, as of now, the cyber warfare, it is taken forward by, that is the TALIBAN manual, TALIBAN, TALIBAN manual. And TALIBAN manual is just the superimposition of the international law onto the cyber warfare. As the criticalities of the cyber warfare are different, so this manual is grossly inadequate. For example, any attack on databases, it more classifies it as an espionage rather than a cyber war. So these are the challenges. So India always taken a lead during Nehru era with regard to international law. So it can also move forward with regard to this. And next is cyber warfare. Now, how India is prepared. So the cyber attacks are increasing from all the sources. If you talk about the Estonia entire financial system got crashed with the cyber attack. Now America joint strike fighter and the research program got sabotaged because of the cyber attacks. So now the section 70A of Information Technology Act of India, it provides for establishment of an independent institution to protect core informational infrastructure. The core informational infrastructure. Now, based on this, a national critical informational infrastructure protection center, it was created. But however, it was not at all operational. Certain general guidelines are being provided, and what consists of critical information infrastructure was not clearly defined, and specifics related to each and every department are not being provided. For example, if you take electricity or energy, transport, if these are the critical information infrastructures, even private sector also participates in this. But however, there is a huge trust deficit between the government and private sector, where private sector sees the government with suspicion, which is more interested in regulation. So, in United States also went through the same phase. Now, India has to develop a supportive framework for this engagement of the private and public entities to development of this core infrastructure. Next is lead. Now, how many of us talked about unleaded petrol? So now, previously, this petrol used to consist of tetraethyl lead. Now, this has been replaced by ethanol. So what is happening is, so the TEL, it was acting as a knocking agent. Now, in this context, even ethanol can do the same function, but however, getting the patents over ethanol are difficult. So, American companies have brought in this tetraethyl lead to get the patents. So, inclusion of the lead in the petrol, a toxic substance, is purely from the business perspective and to protect the business interests. And the second thing is, indirectly, a research which was liberally funded by these oil companies have also led for the expansion of the tetraethyl lead. So Mr. Kehoe, who was authorized to conduct the research, he said that the toxic levels and the natural levels, they are almost close to each other. So there is no toxicity which this extra lead is going to cause. Already there is a high levels of lead in our body. So then it was challenged by Patterson, and he brought in a biopurification concept. The body removes the toxic metals, and this process is called biopurification. If you take the different toxic metals, their levels in the blood are very low when compared to the outside or else in compared to the environment. So, if our body has very high levels of blood, high levels of lead, it means that this lead is not natural to our body, but it is accumulated our body over a period of time. It means the lead has substantially poisoned our environment. So, and now, in spite of its poisoning, tetraethyl lead is still used as a component in the petrol and diesel in many of the countries across the world, even in South Asia, Myanmar, etc. Though India has moved away from this. So it shows that how the commercial interests, they try to sabotage the health and general interest of the public. This is what has been used as. And next is a question of credentials. If an organization has to function to the expected norms, there has to be a proper legal framework to guide it. There has to be institutional capacities, and these institutions have to be manned by the right people. The human excellence is the basis for the excellence in the organizations. If you want to have a good governance, the human excellence is critical. But the recent appointments made by the Human Resources Ministry for various departments, ICHR, even for this Film and Television Institute of India, all these are becoming controversial. Censor board, all these are becoming controversial. So the credentials of these people who are manning these institutions, that is what is majorly doubtful. So probably the existing NDA government is more driven by ideology and loyalty. So, more than the capacities, these are taking up the forefront in appointing the members to these organizations. And next is, if you observe the system in India, if we pay the money through the credit card and certain amount of the transaction have to be submitted to the bank, there is certain amount of the fees levied. So, it is actually disincentivizing the credit transaction, there are card transactions, and it is promoting the cash transactions. Now what the government is trying to do is it is coming up with incentivization of the card transactions, where government will provide for certain benefits with regard to the cash transactions. It is a good step towards the elimination of the black money. And next is with regard to war crimes. If you observe, in Gaza the Hamas has the lead. On the West Bank, the Palestinian Liberation Authority has the lead. The Palestinian Liberation Organization already, it was suggesting for going to International Criminal Court on the war crimes conducted by the Israel. And Hamas is already a Shia terrorist organization which was supported by Hezbollah, which is active in Lebanon, which in turn is supported by the Iran. So in that context, Israel recently in 2012, And 2014, the Gaza conflict on that recently UN report has come up. It has accused both Hamas and also the Israel of war crimes. So which was highly condemned by Israel, which is said to be biased. And next is, it's a terrorist attack. It shows that in Afghanistan, till this particular elements are inactive, are very active. So the reconciliation of the Taliban, it's not an easy task for Mr. Ghani. So let us see how the topic evolves. And next is, recently in Carolina, Charleston, a white supremacist has fired on the members in the church. In this, even a senator also has passed away. So what this shows that among the two major factions in the United States, this particular reconciliation has not yet occurred. The affirmative action has not yet totally shown its results. So, and the constant accusation of the African Americans that the police, their actions are are biased against the minorities that are being reflected, and it has led to demonstrations across the United States. So in this context, the gun culture of the United States is under question. The Constitution provides for the right to bear arms. So, and also the gun lobby, that is National Rifle Association, is very active. So there is a huge political cost to act against the guns. So in this context, the existing phenomenon, and previously, if Texas Tech University, after that a firing in school, so after that a firing in a shopping mall in Omaha, and added to this phenomenon, all this shows that the gun culture, there is a terrorism from inside the America first, which it has to address, fighting the terrorism from outside. So these are the articles for today. Thank you very much.